Right then, so first job for the Encore is going to be removing the original finish. As I say, I'm not a fan of what's happened here, but the first thing I need to do, we need to take the neck off to make the job easier. Could do it. There are obviously multiple ways of removing a finish, but I'm just going to use sandpaper and my electric sander, the way I'm used to doing it. But yeah, that's enough chatting about it. Let's get the neck off and get some sanding done. That's really pretty. Alright then, so that went pretty well. It took a lot of effort, as you saw from the state of the air in the shed, and the fact that I went from wearing no mask to wearing a mask. This was pretty substantial amount of finish on this. I've not got it all off. You can still see there's a quite fine layer of stuff on it, but the headstock, I will say, has come off quite nice, and I'm actually really loving the look of this. This is going to contrast really nicely. As I was finishing it off, it did snap a little bit there, but at the end of the day, that is going to be under a truss rod cover, so I'm not too worried about that. But for the body, it is going to take a lot more effort. You can see that this, as I say, there's still a layer of protectiveness on it. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I do love the look of this wood. I knew just from seeing the couple of chipped areas it was going to be nice just from these bits, but that contrast of having this pale wood on the top and the back to these multi-layered section in the middle, that's going to look awesome, but going to take a lot of effort. And I do not want to bore you. You've already seen me sand and finish off this thing. So we're going to pick this up after I've got everything sanded all the way up to 240, because that is the ideal grit to sand up to stay the guitar. Now, I did do a little bit of a test. This is how I know that there's still something there. I did a little test with one of my stains to see if it taped, and it didn't really tape properly, so yeah, I know it's going to need a lot more sanding. Anyway, that's enough chatting. I'm going to take everything that could potentially get messed up from being covered in sawdust back inside, but I'll pick this up once I've got it sanded up to 240. Alright then, so it took a couple of days, but I got everything sanded off. So the neck is back on the base. I will talk about it in a minute, but I want to bring you in closer and show you everything. So if you remember the headstock, it was a little bit darker, but you might have seen there was a thin, pale border going around it. Well, as you see here, this is very different. So what actually happened was, when I was fine sanding it, I started losing more and more on this, and it started going really pale, and that started going, was still dark. So what they've done is they've put a very thin veneer on to hide the fact that this is made of 1, 2, 3, 4 different pieces of wood. Now, I'm okay with that because the figuring on this wood looks absolutely beautiful. So once that's stained, that's going to look amazing. Now, with the Encore logo, I did make a copy of it using some masking tape, so I've got a few ideas for that, which I'll talk about at some point. But the main reason why I put the neck back on is so that I could figure out my center line. So I tried doing it just with the fret markers, but I failed miserably like 6 or 7 times. So I did eventually decide to draw lines around either side, lines down either side of the neck, measure the distance between them, put a line on it, and join them together. So this line here, these little marks, this is where the bridge saddles are going to go, and obviously with this being a bit further back and then getting closer, it will work out really well for the higher string versus the lower string, because you know that will work out really nicely. The beauty part about those bridge saddles, it actually hides these 4 original holes and the bridge ground hole, so even better. This line here is where my J pickup is going to go. Now, interesting thing about the J pickup. So as I've been working with EMGs a lot more, the housing of the pickups are a lot bigger than what a traditional pickup is. So when you buy a template, they're a few millimeters short, and also when you're using a route bit, that then brings the round over in the corner a lot tighter. So I don't want to make the same mistake that I did on SPH Fishtail, which was my great guitar build off last year, and I don't want to have to keep messing around with files and stuff. Now I did buy, you mentioned Koi then, I did buy the Crimson PJ set. Now, I did put the pickup in that one, it was ever so slightly a little bit too small. Now that might be because I got the neck template instead of the bridge template, but luckily for me, EMG have the entire schematic, all the dimensions for your pickup, so it even goes into detail as to where your magnet and everything is. Well, that means I've managed to create myself a drawing of what the J pickup is going to look like. So this is a slightly longer, slightly wider. These need a little bit more space to be able to go in a bit better. So, but also what I've done, took the P pickup, placed it how it's going to be, and then I've drawn around it to make it wider. This is going to be my pickguard template, so that I don't have to faff around with files and stuff like that. You know my look, now I've said that, I'm probably going to have to mess around with some files, but anyway, that is going to be the plan for the next video. So be sure to follow all my socials that are linked down below in the description. And yeah, next video you're going to see a lot of template making. I'll probably throw in the footage that I had from when I made the pickguard, and then we're going to get that pickup routed, because I've got some other cool stuff that I can do with that, but I'll talk about that in the next video.